This is the Leica S3, and we had a chance to talk to one of the company's leading executives about it and more. Photokina 2018 coverage is brought to you by Manfrotto. Imagine more.
We are here at Photokina 2018 with Stephan Daniel from Leica. Hello, Stephan.
Hi.
And it's great meeting you, I think, for the fourth time in Photokina.
Sounds really familiar.
And this year we have a lot of very interesting things at the show, and you also have some very interesting things to show us. So let's dive right into them. I think that the biggest question that has to do with Leica and two other companies is your cooperation with Panasonic and Sigma, which you announced, I think, just a few days ago, just before the show.
Yeah.
So maybe let's talk about this. How did you choose all of you together, the SL mount as the mount for this partnership or for these cameras, and maybe how this whole thing started?
Yeah, so we have a cooperation or collaboration with Panasonic since 2001, so 17 years already. So it's a long-term partnership we're enjoying. When we launched the Leica SL in 2015 and the year before with the Leica T in 2014, we created that L mount. A very progressive mount, large diameter, the right diameter, not too big, not too small, 20 millimeter of back focal length, so very future-proof. Yeah. And then we got approached about 2.5 years ago by Panasonic, whether Panasonic might use the L mount. And so we investigated and said, okay, maybe it's a good idea to team up, yeah. Better to join forces, and then later on also Sigma came into play, and we said it makes a lot of sense because all three companies are really having a different profile, and that is to the mutual benefit of the three companies, but first and foremost for the consumer, because the choice of lenses which are going to be available are being much broader than every company would do its own lens mount. So I think it's really an interesting scenario having 20-25 lenses available in a very short period.
Okay, and actually what, I think you answered it at least in part, what does this mean in terms of Leica itself, this partnership?
Yeah, so Leica created the L mount, so Leica is the licensor, and Panasonic and Sigma are the licensees, but we see it more like a partnership on eye level. So every party can also bring improvements or further developments to that interface standard. And then there is a committee which will decide whether this idea of improvement will be part of the L-mount alliance or not.
Okay, very interesting. Now, another thing that you introduced this time, an actual product, is the S3, which you're actually holding in your hand,
Yes.
the new S3. What can you tell us about this camera? It's not ready yet, right?
Yeah, so we do a soft launch here at Photokina. This camera is a 64 megapixel version of the Leica S. A completely newly developed sensor with a very high dynamic range, so 15 f-stops, and it has also, as the only camera on the market in the medium format segment, a 4K video on the full frame. That means on the full image field.
Is it 60p or 30p?
It's 30p.
Okay.
Yeah. But the advantage is that the stills and the video will have the same look. So if a photographer does a job and he is delivering stills and he is also asked to deliver a video, then these two pictures and videos will have the same image style.
You're talking about colors and...
Color, depth of field. So the medium format look is so special, and you can now have it in the video.
Okay. Well, the external design of the camera is similar to the previous generation, right?
We changed only the things which needed to be changed, so it's more like an evolution, because the camera concept overall is super well accepted by the customers. So we said, okay, let's only change what is really needed. And the resolution was 37.5 megapixels. So now, as the demand of the photographer is more resolution, we made an adjustment here. But at the same time, also increased the light sensitivity, dynamic range. So it will go up to ISO 50K with a very, very good signal to noise ratio.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, besides the S3, you also have some other products that we have here on the table. What can you tell us about them? I think that there is a silver version of the CL, right?
Yeah, this is the silver CL. So the CL was launched last November in a black version. And we got constant demand to say, okay, why isn't it available in a classic silver? And here it is. So we also have a couple of silver lenses. But the technical thing is the same as the current version, 24 megapixel APS, very bright and nice electronic viewfinder, very simple, intuitive operation concept. So a cute little camera. But actually, it's looking cute, but it's a serious camera.
The sensor here is APS-C?
APS-C, yes.
And you have the M10P, I think, here?
Yes, the M10P is right here.
What can you tell us about it?
The M10, as the base model, was launched beginning of 2017, and now we have here the P version. The P version is always a bit beefed up model of the M10. So it has a much quieter shutter. Yeah, it's almost. I'm shooting it. You hear it? You don't hear it. And the advantage is that we also have a touchscreen display where you can flip through images, and also tap. If you have a double tap, you go right in the area where.
Yeah, that's very useful here.
Where you go. And that works both in live view and in the play mode.
Oh, okay. So that's the 10P. You also have two new lenses, right?
Yes, they are for the Leica SL system. We have a platform where lenses are available from 21 millimeter to 90. Yeah. First, we launched earlier this year a 75 and a 90, and now. Beginning of next year, there will be a 35 and 50.
This is the 35.
That is the 35. This is an absolutely high performance lens.
This is a 35 1 point?
F2.
F2.
F2. But with a focus on really highest resolution to cope also with future sensor generations. And this is also an L-mount lens. So it will be also compatible with cameras from our friends at Panasonic or Sigma.
Sigma in the future, yeah. And you have an Instax, am I correct?
Yeah, we call it sofort, yeah, which is the German word for instant. Yeah. So this camera concept was launched 2 years ago at Photokina. We had a white and mint and orange version, and now we saw people on the web painting their camera in black. So we thought it might be a good idea to offer that as a serial version too.
And this is an analog camera, right?
Yeah, it's an instant camera. There's no film in, but it would go out here and would have fun to share those images.
Now, besides all this hardware, basically all this gear, you also have a very interesting new software piece, which is the Photos app.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what can you tell us about it? Maybe we can afterwards do a demo.
We call it the Leica Photos app. The Leica Photos app will replace all the specific apps we had for our various camera models. So you can download pictures from the camera to the phone. You can remote your camera via the app, and you can easily also share the images then after once you have downloaded them. It works in JPEG, but also in DNG, and you have a very nice control about sharpness, exposure, and so on your smartphone display.
I think that you also showed me before that you can actually download the full resolution, if you like, of the image from the
absolutely.
camera.
Yeah. And so you can establish a completely mobile workflow. and by this also having the camera being concentrated on the capturing side, but everything which is image treatment, download, sharing on the device, which is best for that.
And another thing I think about this software is that it's very quick to connect to the camera. So you have a QR code that you scan, and it's very.
So that was a little bit difficult sometimes in the previous versions, and now you switch on the Wi-Fi on the camera, scan the QR code, and it's going to be connected immediately. And if you switch off the camera or switch off the phone, they will remember each other, so you don't need to readjust it once the camera is off.
That's fantastic. I think that a lot of Leica users will be very happy. This will apply to several of your previous models, not just the S3, right? I mean,
that will be available for every camera, which is Wi-Fi at Leica. So most of the cameras are already integrated. Our little CLUX will be added in November, and we launched that app end of October. We are now in a public beta, collecting more requests and getting the last bugs out. But end of October will be ready for download, iOS and Android.
That's very good. Final question for this show. We were talking to the CEO of Sigma a few days ago, and he remarked that the changes that we have seen this year in Photokina only happens, in his view, only once in 1 or 2 decades. Like the move from analog to digital cameras in the early 2000s, and the move from manual focus to autofocus 2 decades before that, and there were other changes even before that. Do you share his assessment that we are in the midst of a revolution in the photography industry right now?
Yeah, it's a major technology change. I think Yamaki-san is right by saying, it's the beginning of a new era with the mirrorless full-frame cameras. But on the other hand, we have been through that revolution or new era already, because we launched our Leica SL already in 2015. So this time we're a bit ahead of the others.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephan.
It was a pleasure.
Always good to see you.